Imagine you have never once paid a water bill, not a single one. That is not a hypothetical. That is how Depression-era farm families lived. Most people assume they just had a well and a hand pump. That is only half the story. Underneath that was just a $12 system the water industry buried after World War II. Stay to the end. You will find out why a $12 system threatened an industry worth $60 billion a year, and exactly how to build it yourself. I want to tell you about my grandfather. He farmed 40 acres in rural Tennessee through the worst years of the Depression. The land had been in the family since before the Civil War. I spent summers with him as a child, and one August morning, I saw something that made no sense to me. There had been no rain in 6 days. The creek at the edge of the property was so low you could cross it without getting your knees wet. And yet the trough near the garden was full, not almost full, full. I asked him where the water was coming from. He looked at me the way old farmers look at questions they find obvious. He pointed at the air and said the moisture never goes anywhere. It just needs somewhere to land. I did not understand what he meant for years, and when I finally did, it changed how I think about water entirely. Here is what most people have been taught about where water comes from. It comes from the ground, you drill a well, or it comes from the sky, you catch rain in a barrel. Those are the two options most people know. Depression-era farm families used both of those, but the third system, the one that predates both in certain parts of the world, is the one almost nobody in this country thinks about anymore. It is water that comes from neither the ground nor the sky. It comes from the AIR, not from rain. It comes from the moisture floating invisibly around you at every moment of every day, waiting to touch something cold enough to let go. That process has a name, WW point. When moist air contacts a surface cold enough, the moisture cannot stay suspended. It forces out, condenses, and forms a droplet. The droplet finds another, they merge and grow heavy, and gravity pulls them down. You have seen this your whole life, on a cold glass in summer, on your windshield on a cool morning, on a spider web just after dawn. What my grandfather's system did, what the $12 setup does, is give that process a large surface to happen on. A surface tilted at the right angle, positioned into the wind, and set up before sunset. By morning, you have water in a collection trough that came from no pipe, no pump, no well, and no rainfall. It came straight out of the air while you slept. Here is exactly what you need to build this. Shade cloth mesh, 6 feet by 6 feet, the kind available at any garden center. Look for a tight weave, closer to a window screen than an open agricultural mesh. About $5. 4 sections of 1-inch PVC pipe to make a rectangular frame roughly 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide. $2 or less if you have scraps. Zip ties, you probably already have these. A length of plastic gutter for your collection trough, $3 or $4 at any hardware store. A few flat rocks or bricks to prop the frame at an angle. That is everything. $12 all in. No moving parts, no electricity, no ongoing cost. The frame goes together in minutes. 4 PVC sections form a rectangle with zip ties at the corners. It does not need to be elegant. It just needs to hold its shape in a light breeze. Stretch the mesh over the frame and zip tie it every 6 inches around every edge. This part matters. You want drum-tight tension, not a sag. Think of how tight the skin of a tambourine is stretched. You want that same tautness across the entire mesh surface. A sagging mesh traps water in low spots. Trapped water sits still. Still water evaporates before it reaches your trough. Tight mesh means every droplet that forms rolls immediately downward and lands exactly where you want it. Here is the mistake that ruins the first attempt for most people. They set the frame flat on the ground like a table. That is wrong. Flat means every droplet pulls on top of the mesh, sits there, and is gone before sunrise. You want the frame tilted at 15 to 30 degrees off vertical, leaning slightly back like a picture frame propped against a wall at a shallow angle. That tilt is the entire secret of the collection. Droplets form. They roll downhill along the mesh fibers. They reach the bottom edge and drip directly into the gutter you have placed underneath. Gravity does all the work around the clock, without any help from you. Placement matters as much as construction. Face the mesh directly into the prevailing evening breeze. Not sideways, not away from it, into it. You want air moving through the mesh, not around it. Walk your yard at dusk and feel which direction the air is moving. That is the direction your frame should face. Get the frame off the ground by at least 12 inches. Air near ground level is warmer and drier than air slightly above it. Place the frame away from wherever morning sun reaches first. You want the cool pre-dawn window because that is when your highest collection happens. Morning sunlight warms the mesh above the dew point and collection stops. Every minute you protect from early sun is more water in your trough. Set it up before sunset. Come back at dawn. In a night with average conditions, temperatures in the mid-50s, normal humidity, no fog, a 6x6 setup will put half a liter to a full liter of water in that trough. That sounds modest until you think about what it costs to produce it. Nothing. You went to sleep. In coastal areas, river valleys, or anywhere that sees morning fog from a nearby body of water, that same setup produces 2 liters or more. Scale the mesh to 10 by 10 feet, and you are producing enough water for a family's daily drinking needs from a structure you built in one afternoon. No bill, no infrastructure, no asking permission from anyone. Now, here is the part that should make you angry. The physics behind dew collection is identical today to what it was 100 years ago. What happened is simpler and more human than a conspiracy. As municipal water systems spread across America through the early 20th century, the old techniques became unnecessary for most people. The tap worked. So, the older knowledge got set aside. We forget what we stop needing. That is just how people work. But there is a second layer underneath that. The residential water utility industry in America today generates over $60 billion a year. Every household on a municipal line is a customer who pays every month, indefinitely. A family running a $12 dew collection system is a family that has reduced or removed that payment. The techniques were not banned. They were simply never included in the building codes, the agricultural extension guides, the infrastructure manuals that shaped how post-war America thought about water. Not destroyed, omitted. And omission repeated across enough decades produces the same result. The families that never connected to municipal systems never had any reason to let the knowledge go. They kept it because they never stopped needing it. My grandfather never knew any of this history. He just knew what worked. The dew collection frame he used was built from materials he had on hand: scrap wood, window screen salvaged from a torn frame, and a tin gutter section from a barn repair. It cost him nothing because he built it from what was already there. The $12 figure is what it costs today at a hardware store. In his time, it cost whatever it cost to cut a piece of screen and nail it to a frame. If you want to take this further, there is one more technique worth knowing. This is the piece I promised at the beginning. Raw wool is one of the most hygroscopic natural materials that exists. Its fibers have a microscopic structure that actively draws moisture from humid air and holds it. A dry fleece will absorb up to 30% of its own weight in water vapor before it feels damp to the touch. Depression-era farm families who kept sheep knew this. A large raw wool fleece hung from a fence post or rope at chest height, facing the evening breeze, left overnight, and wrung out in the morning over a clean bucket will produce between half a liter and a full liter of water on a night with moderate humidity. On a humid night near water, it can go higher. The water it produces is naturally filtered through lanolin, the waxy coating native to raw wool that has been recognized for its purifying properties for generations. If you do not have sheep, raw fleeces are available from local sheep operations for almost nothing, often free, because coarse fleeces have almost no market value. Run the collected water through a simple activated charcoal filter for complete peace of mind. Take a plastic bottle, cut the bottom off, flip it upside down, and layer it from bottom to top with cotton, then activated charcoal from an aquarium store, then fine sand, then a second layer of cotton. Pour the collected water through from the top. What drips into the jar below is cleaner than municipal tap water in most areas of this country. What you have now are two systems you can run tonight. The $12 mesh frame collects water while you sleep. The wool fleece does the same thing for nothing if you have access to sheep. Either one covers your drinking water needs without a pipe, a pump, or a bill. Used together, you stop thinking about water as something you pay for. My grandfather filled that trough every dry August morning for 40 years. He did not think of it as a system. He thought of it as using what was already there. The air is full of water. Give it somewhere to land. That is the entire philosophy, and the water industry spent decades making sure you would never hear it. Leave a comment and tell me this. Do you have access to raw wool, or do you know a sheep operation near you? If you do, you can run the fleece method this weekend with nothing to buy and nothing to build. If you cannot find raw wool, the $12 mesh setup is your Friday afternoon project. Hit subscribe. The next system we are pulling out of Depression-era history costs even less than this one, and most people have been looking right at it their whole lives without ever seeing what it actually does.